Shocking truth, break free from any addiction forever. Biblical secrets revealed. The air was thick with dread as Sarah paced her dimly lit apartment. The shadows danced on the walls, twisting and turning like her thoughts. She had heard whispers, rumors of a mystical tome, said to unlock the secrets of the universe and perhaps even free her from the chains of her addiction. Day after day, she fought the desperate grip of those demons. The bottle on her table beckoned, glimmering like a siren lured by her longing. There was a sense of urgency, a gnawing need for answers lurking just beyond her reach. As she traced the outline of the dusty book, she felt a chill race down her spine. The corners of the pages were whispered to be stained with the sweat of those who had sought salvation and had failed. A small voice, both haunting and inviting, tugged at her heart. What if this was more than just a book? What if it was a key? People spoke of biblical texts that could heal broken souls, igniting flickers of hope in places shrouded in darkness. Hope that mixed awkwardly with fear of the unknown, fear of what it might reveal about herself. Sarah's heart raced as she turned the fragile cover. The faded inscription sent shivers through her body. In truth lies your freedom. What truth? Her racing thoughts settled momentarily, making way for the harsh reality of the moment. The weight of her struggles clung to her like a heavy cloak. The whispers grew louder. Could the book really help her? Did she dare to find out what the pages held? She was teetering on the edge, her hands trembling as she debated whether to plunge into this abyss of discovery. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The book finally opened with an ominous creak, unveiling images that seemed to come alive. Glimpses of people with wild eyes, lost in their fervor for liberation, leaped from the pages. Was that a man clutching a broken chain? A woman at the brink of madness? As she scanned the words, her breath caught an ancient proverb spoke of trials, of sacrifice, and of a choice. It was a decision that would change everything. Fear gripped her chest, twisting like a vice. What kind of price would she have to pay? Would she unravel the truth, or would it consume her entirely? The thrill and terror of the unknown washed over her as the haunting echo of her reality whispered between the lines. Where would this journey lead her? The pages felt alive beneath Sarah's fingers, each line crackling with energy as if the words whispered her name. She leaned closer, straining to catch every syllable as if her life depended on it. The more she read, the more she felt time stretch and warp around her, like being pulled into a strange reality where salvation and torment coexisted. Suddenly, a blaring sound, like a siren, broke her focus. Her phone vibrated violently against the table, shattering the suffocating silence. She jumped, heart thumping wildly against her chest. It was a text from her brother, Jason. I've heard about the book. You need to be careful. It's not what it seems. A chill shot through her. What had Jason found out? Was he truly worried for her? Maybe he knew something she didn't. Ignoring the knot in her stomach, Sarah returned to the tome, determined to push through her unease. With each phrase, more images burst alive in her mind, figures battling towering shadows, the fiery furnace of temptation, and a figure, cloaked in darkness, whose touch sparked pain and pleasure alike. She wrestled with her thoughts. Was this book revealing her reality or blending it with hysteria? A passage caught her breath. The path to liberty tests your resolve. Not all who seek the light emerge unscathed. What did that mean? Would she really be willing to confront the darkness within her? As she stared into the blurred expressions of desperation pinned in the illustrations, a roaring temptation clawed at her insides. The bottle was calling out, sparkling like a mirage, promising relief, yet deep down, she knew it offered nothing but chains. In that breathless moment, the words of a haunting mantra echoed in her ears: to find freedom, one must first decide to lose everything. A shudder coursed through her, tightening her throat. What was she prepared to lose? And what if that loss was more than she was willing to pay? Just then, the lights flickered and dimmed, plunging her into near darkness. Panic bubbled within her. Shadows shifted along the walls, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she could see figures, gnarled and twisted, emerging from the corners of her sight. They reached for her phantoms of her past, her addictions, her failures. She clamped her eyes shut, willed herself to breathe, to stand firm. But with each breath, new fears cascaded through her veins. A desperate knock echoed through the apartment, pulling her back to reality. Her heart raced, thumping violently in her ears. Who could it be at this hour? Jason? Someone warning her? Or worse, someone who knew what lurked within the pages of that cursed book? Trembling, she approached the door, her gut churning as the knock crescendoed into an urgent rhythm. This was more than a moment of curiosity, this was confrontation. This was the door to her fate. Would she open it? Would she face whatever awaited her on the other side? As she hesitated, the shadows seemed to close in tighter, whispering their seductive lure. Choices loomed heavy in the air. She'd need to decide not only what she wanted to know, but what she was willing to risk. The truth was at her fingertips, but so was the abyss. With a deep breath, she whispered, almost inaudibly, "What do you want from me?" The knocking stopped, replaced with a chilling silence. But as she paused in anticipation, she sensed that she was not alone. Something was waiting, lurking in the darkness, ready to unveil a shocking truth. Who or what was on the other side of that door? The silence was deafening. Sarah's heart pounded like a war drum, reverberating in her chest as she processed the haunting stillness that followed her whispered question. She leaned closer to the door, every instinct screaming at her to step back, to reject the fear that nipped at her heels. But curiosity, that double-edged sword, gripped her tighter than terror. "Is anybody there?" she called out, her voice trembling. A soft rustle, almost imperceptible, answered her, sending a jolt of adrenaline rushing through her veins. She placed a shaking hand on the doorknob, her fingers sliding over the cold metal. In that moment, the shadows deepened, swirling around her in a dance of darkness, as though urging her to retreat. But she wouldn't let fear dictate her fate any longer. With a firm twist, she opened the door. Jason stood there, his face pale and drawn, eyes wide with an urgency she had never seen before. He stepped forward, nearly losing his balance as he caught his breath, clearly having run to get here. "Sarah, you need to listen to me," he gasped, his voice urgent, cutting through the mystical fog that had threatened to engulf her. "Jason. What is going on?" Panic rose inside her. "You scared me half to death." He pushed past her, glancing around as if expecting to find something sinister lurking in the corners. "You shouldn't have opened that book. It's more dangerous than you realize. People have gone missing, changed. I've heard things." "Like what?" she pressed, unable to shake the thought of what lay within the pages, the dark allure and the power that whispered to her. "People get lost in it," he said, his eyes locking onto hers with growing intensity. "They seek the secrets it holds, thinking they can summon strength or wisdom. But it twists you, warps your mind. I heard about someone who found the truth, and he's not the same anymore. They say he's haunted." A cold shiver slid down Sarah's spine. Haunted? The word tasted foreign, like a bitter reminder of what dwelled in her own shadowy past. She thought of the echoes of her mistakes, her spiraling addiction, the very essence of her struggle lurking just beyond the page's reach. "Listen, we have to burn it," Jason urged, his voice rising with urgency. "You don't know what it's asking of you. This," he gestured wildly toward the book resting on the table, "is not your salvation. It's a trap, and you might already be caught." As if summoned by the tension, a gust of wind howled outside, rattling the windows and sending a chill through the room. The lights flickered again, casting eerie shadows that seemed to pulse, feeding off their fear. "Burn it?" Sarah shook her head, incredulous. You don't understand. I've barely scratched its surface. There is something in there, something that resonates with me. Jason's expression grew grave. Resonates? Sarah, that's what they all think before it's too late. Whatever it is, it will consume you. You're already feeling it. You said it yourself, those phantoms trying to drag you down. Her mind raced. Jason's words cut deep, forcing her to confront the truth she had been avoiding. She had been teetering on the edge for far too long, and who knew how far she could spiral. Suddenly, the book trembled on the table, pages fluttering open as if possessed. Both of them recoiled, a shared terror widening their eyes. What is happening? Jason backed away. What have you done? Before she could respond, a deep, resonant voice emerged from the pages, filling the room with an ominous energy. Sarah, it called to her, a low, velvety tug that felt unwanted yet irresistible. She felt the shadows closing in again, and the reality of her choices laid bare before her. Her hand hovered over the book, eyes locked on Jason's pleading face. The choice was clear, yet impossible. Would she dare seek the truth the book offered, or was her only hope to sever ties with its dark allure forever? As she stood there, torn and trembling, the voice echoed once more, whispering promises that twisted her heart and mind. Embrace the darkness, and all shall be revealed. One final glance at Jason's terrified face sent a shiver of determination through her. What would she choose? And what would be the cost of that choice? The room trembled with a charged energy, thick like the air before a storm. Sarah felt her heart race faster, in sync with the voice emanating from the book, its timbre both soothing and terrifying. The walls felt like they were closing in, shadows creeping closer as if to embrace her. Sarah, don't! Jason shouted, his voice strained with panic. You cannot let it in. But the words were drowned out by the echoing invitation from the book. Join me, let me guide you. Each syllable sent a shudder through Sarah's core, igniting sparks of something deep inside her: longing, curiosity, and an unsettling pull toward the unknown. Stop! She cried, shaking her head to clear the fog of temptation clouding her thoughts. This can't be real. Yet the warmth radiating from the pages was undeniable, seeping into her skin like an intoxicating whisper. She took a step closer, mesmerized by the text that beckoned her. A promise of understanding and power lay within those words, unfulfilled desires waiting to be unveiled. Sarah, step back. Jason's voice cut through her daze, the urgency slicing through the heavy tension filling the room. Think about what you'll lose. It's not worth it. For a moment, she hesitated, torn between the magnetic allure of the pages and the reality of Jason's terrified plea. Memories of her struggles flooded her mind, those moments she spent searching for solace in the depths of addiction, a futile attempt to mask her pain. Each choice she made twisted deeper into her soul like a thorny vine, choking the light within her. I don't want to lose myself again, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper, vulnerability spilling through her hardened exterior. Then don't, Jason urged, stepping closer. We can fight this together. You don't have to give in to the darkness. A flicker of hope ignited within her, but it was swiftly snuffed out as the book trembled once more, a violent shudder that rattled against the table. The deep voice pulsed through the air again, almost mocking. You can resist me, but the truth yearns to be unveiled. All you have to do is surrender. The shadows writhed in response, forming shapes that twisted and turned, grappling with reality itself. Sarah's breath quickened as panic sliced through her newfound determination. The shadows were hungry, eager to claim her, to drag her back to the pain she thought she had escaped. Let it go, Sarah. You have to make a choice. Jason's words thundered as if trying to drown out the seductive call from the book. We're running out of time. With each heartbeat, she felt the weight of that choice pressing down, threatening to suffocate her. The voice was a siren, promising clarity and power but offering only fragments of a shrouded nightmare. As she stood frozen, an unexpected blast of light erupted from the book, its pages flaring like a firework. Blinding brilliance enveloped the room, extinguishing the shadows and momentarily pushing back the encroaching darkness. Now, Sarah. Either embrace the light or no darkness forever. Jason shouted as he shielded his face. A choice, the book or the light. As screams of fury erupted from the pages, the decision slammed against her heart like a hammer. In that moment of clarity, she caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of Jason's terrified eyes. The realization struck hard. This wasn't just about the book, it was about her very soul. Sarah, please. Jason's plea broke through the chaos, desperate and raw. Could she really let go of the seductive whisper that promised so much? Could she embrace something new, something scary yet hopeful? The light pulsed, urging her to step away from the brink. And as the dark shadows howled in rage, her heart raced with the weight of her choice hanging heavy in the air. What would she decide? And could faith truly break the chains that threatened to consume her? As the book's grip tightened, she knew the moment had come, but which path would she take? The blinding light surged, wrapping Sarah in its warmth, pushing against the cold dread that clawed at her heart. The shadows waned but didn't disappear, lingering just at the edges, their mournful whispers woven in with the pulse of the light. She felt the weight of countless eyes upon her, hungry, aching for a piece of her desperate soul. Make your choice. Jason's command crackled like static in the air. His face shone with determination, yet fear flickered in his eyes, and it stirred something deep within her. But the book. It continued to throb with an energy that felt so familiar, so tantalizing. The call to surrender was intoxicating, a sweet poison that promised deliverance from all her uncertainties. Her hand crept toward the pages, trembling as if drawn by a thread of fate. Then everything changed. A sudden roar erupted from the book, and the pages whipped violently as if a storm wind had struck. Dark tendrils lashed out, wrapping around her wrist like serpents, biting into her skin. Sarah gasped, pain flaring at the point of contact, a cruel reminder of the darkness that lay coiled just beneath the surface of her desire. Sarah! Jason lunged forward, reaching for her, but the shadows were quick, pushing him back as they slithered across the floor, grasping for his ankles. No! I won't let you take her. The room felt alive, vibrating with their struggle as raw energy coursed through the space. With a surge of desperation, Sarah yanked her hand back from the book, breaking the unholy connection that was fast creeping into her mind, making it feel as if the shadows were worming through her thoughts. No! She cried, summoning strength she didn't know she had. You won't have me. Suddenly, the light burst forth, bright and pure, shining like a nuclear explosion. It consumed the shadowy figures, scattering them away, forcing them into the corners of the room, retreating from its furious gleam. The warmth wrapped around her, protective and loving, as if reassuring her that she was worth saving. Good. Keep fighting, Sarah. Jason shouted through the glow. He was wrestling against the shadows, struggling to find footing, but determination fueled him like a raging fire. In you lies the strength to break every chain. The deep, echoing voice pulsed again from the book, now dripping with rage. You dare to defy me? The walls trembled, and Sarah felt the weight of ages, of power long buried beneath time, igniting inside her. Her breath steadied, every inhale sharpening her resolve. Yes, I do. She declared fiercely, surprising even herself, with her voice rising above the chaos. She stepped toward the light. This is not just about you. It's about my life. Each word resonated, shifting the air around her, turning the shadows into quivering shapes. Your life. The voice hissed, incredulous, drowning in its own fury. I will take what is mine. But the shadows were retreating, crumbling in the face of her light. Sarah could feel her heart align with the pulse of positivity blooming within. Memories of her struggles, her fight against addiction, flowed through her. Each battle made her stronger, every moment of vulnerability a testament to her will. Your power can't touch me. She shouted, anchoring her mind to Jason, the tangible proof of fight and resilience. Where I'm headed, you can't follow. A final flash of light erupted, a cleansing wave that washed over the room. She felt the shadows dissolve, the weight lifted from the space around her. The book lay still now, its whispers hushed, its rage vanished into a wisp of smoke. Jason stumbled forward, awe and relief flooding his expression. "You did it, Sarah." But as they embraced, the dominant silence was punctured by a chilling sound, the gentle yet oppressive rustle of pages turning, slowly and methodically. Something was stirring. "Sarah," he paused, his voice trembling. "What is happening?" The shadows were fading, but they weren't gone, not yet. There was something else in the air, a new threat coiling around them like a thin, cold mist. "Jason, it's not over." Her heart raced as she turned back to the book. The pages had stopped, but the air felt heavy with uncertainty, with questions left unanswered. What lay hidden between those cursed pages? Would the battle truly end, or was this just the beginning of something far worse? As dread unfurled within her, a new sound filled the room. A deep, low laugh echoed into the silence, reverberating through her very core. "Ah, my dear Sarah, you've only scratched the surface." An icy chill swept through the room, curling around Sarah and Jason like a suffocating shroud. The voice from the book, taunting and sinister, cracked the stillness like thunder. It cratered the fragile peace they had fought so hard to claim. The shadows pulsed back to life, twisting and swirling like a storm gathering momentum. "What do you mean?" Sarah's voice cracked, echoing her growing terror. She felt her heart thumping irregularly, each beat resonating with an underlying dread as fear balanced precariously on the edge of hope. Could it be possible? Did she not win after all? "Every soul bound to darkness has a hidden truth," the voice intoned, rich with malice. "You think you have defeated me, but within you lies more than you dare to confront." Jason stepped toward her, protective and vigilant. "We've come this far. We can't let it intimidate us." Despite the strength behind his words, doubt flickered in his eyes, a reflection of Sarah's own despair. "The truth will set you free." The voice continued, mocking. "But only if you have the courage to face it." The atmosphere vibrated with uncertain energy, the shadows curling like black smoke around the scant beams of light. A heavy silence fell, only broken by the low rustle of the book as its pages turned, revealing words no human was meant to read. Jason glanced at the tome with a mix of rage and resolve. "We're not afraid of what you try to show us." He clenched his fists, the tremors of the shadows revealing both fear and inner turmoil. "Not afraid? You should be." The shadows surged, lunging toward them, their ghastly forms flickering in and out of existence like warped reflections in a broken mirror. As they approached, Sarah felt something deep inside twist, a sense of betrayal simmered within her. The shadows seemed to know her, knew her past, her failures, the moments she tried so desperately to forget. "Faces from your past," the voice whispered, "manifesting your deepest guilt and shame. Recognize them, Sarah. Can you face what you've hidden?" A figure strode out of the darkness, the same dark eyes, careless laughter echoing in her mind. Her breath hitched. It was her old self, the person she had fought to bury beneath layers of hardship and self-rejection. "You think you're free?" The specter sneered. "You are still a prisoner of your choices." "No. I am defined by my overcoming." Sarah shouted, desperation giving rise to defiance. "You are not real. You're just a shadow of what I've fought against." But the shadow merely laughed, stretching into a twisted grin. "That's what they all say, the ones too weak to confront their past." "Stop it!" Jason yelled, charging toward the figure at Sarah's side. But before he could reach her, more figures emerged from the gloom, their forms shifting and stretching into those she once knew, the faces of failure taunting her existence. "Jason, don't!" Sarah cried, tears welling in her eyes. "They will consume you too. It's just your mind playing tricks. They can't hurt us if we don't let them." He reached for her, addressing the sinister figures with fiery conviction, as if the flames of his determination could chase them back into oblivion, but the laughter grew, a cacophony of mournful wails resonating, echoing through the chamber like the sound of a funeral dirge. The shadows reached for her again, grasping at her, attempting to drag her down. "Let me go. I want to be your puppet," she screamed, pulling away, yet feeling the raw tendrils of fear wrapping around her chest, squeezing tighter. Memories of her past swirled like storm clouds in her mind, lost opportunities, the despair of addiction clawing at her insides. Sarah Jason's eyes were wide with terror as darkness threatened to engulf him, too. He fought against it, but his movements grew sluggish, burdened by shadows pulling him down. Sarah's heart raced, torn between revulsion and the desperate need to save him. No. She turned inward, seeking the light she had kindled during their battle. "We've come too far to let them win. I refuse." The surge of determination flooded her core, igniting a spark, a last flicker of hope. Suddenly, the laughter changed. It shattered into 1,000 pieces, like glass breaking against the floor, leaving behind an eerie silence. "You think you can escape? You are still flawed, never truly free," the voice hissed, lingering like smoke. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, feeling a pang of dread she had to know. "I want you to choose," it replied, that sinister edge creeping back. "Face your truth, or your greatest fear will consume you both." As the book glimmered ominously, the room twisted. The air thickened, sealing around them like a jail. Sarah felt torn inside, wavering between disbelief and acceptance. Could she truly fight what was within her? "Remember, Sarah, you're not alone in this." Jason steadied his breath, resolve hardening in his stance as shadows loomed closer, hungrily waiting. Would she recognize the path laid before her? The sickening pull of her memories dragged at her, poised to shape her destiny. The door swung open. Would she have the courage to step through? A moment of clarity could change everything, yet the unknown itself cultivated fear. Will you choose light, or will the darkness win? The question hung, heavy in the air, suffocating as she took her first trembling step forward, ready to confront what lay ahead. But would the truth set her free, or would it shatter everything she fought for? The moment Sarah stepped forward, the world around her warped. The air shimmered as if reality itself was a mirage, and suddenly she found herself in a blinding light. It enveloped her warm and comforting, yet with an equal touch of suffocating pressure. Whispers surrounded her, an insistent chorus murmuring words she could barely catch. Face it, Jason's voice pierced through the haze, calling out to her. "Sarah! Don't lose sight of who you are." But as she blinked against the brightness, shadows twisted and morphed around her. Those faces of her past appeared again, each one a demon haunting her, reminding her of the hurdles she had failed to overcome, the people she had hurt, and the pain that had clawed at her heart for years. "Do you really think you can hide from this?" The specter of her old self laughed, a hollow, echoing sound that seemed to shake the very ground beneath her. "Every choice, every mistake is etched in your soul, Sarah. You're running from you." "No," she shouted, her voice trembling yet resolute. "I'm not running anymore. I refuse to be defined by you." The light pulsed, and suddenly, she stood alone in a vast white expanse, stripped of shadows and memories. The air was thick with silence, thick with anticipation. Jason's absence pressed against her like a weight, and she felt an emptiness where his presence had filled her with courage. "Jason!" she called out, panic surging through her veins. "Sarah!" His voice echoed faintly in her mind, laced with fear. "I'm here. Don't let the darkness take you." Determined, she reached deep within herself, searching for that flicker of light she had fought to cultivate during this long struggle. This light wasn't just hope, it was her truth, her undeniable strength to claim her own narrative, to confront those demons head-on. Trembling, she whispered, "I am not defined by my failures. My past does not own me." The void around her quaked, and she could feel the shadows clawing their way back. Yet, instead of fear, a fire ignited within her, a desperate need to emerge victorious. You think you can scare me with who I used to be? I overcame you once, and I'll do it again. Visual symbols of her past swirled around her, memories like ghosts rising from the ether. There was the scream of her father during that horrid argument, the pleading face of her childhood friend who had turned away, the cold dread of choosing substance over life. But in this expanse, she recognized them not as chains binding her, but as lessons guiding her forward. Those choices don't own me. She shouted again, the conviction in her voice sending ripples through the space. The memories trembled and dimmed under the weight of her determination, but suddenly, the shadows coalesced into a monstrous form that loomed over her, a terrifying apparition of her greatest fear, a mirror reflecting her deepest insecurities. It wore the faces of those she had hurt and failed, mouths twisted in anger and disappointment. You'll never escape us. They shrieked in unison, the air vibrating with their rage. Jason's figure flickered into view beside her, standing strong even against the darkness. Together. He shouted, and she felt a surge of strength emanate from their connection. They raised their hands, and an almost palpable power flowed through them. We are not alone in this. We choose to face you. They declared, their voices melding into one. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as if struck. You think you can banish us? The air grew heavy with tension as the light around them brightened further, illuminating the darkest corners of Sarah's soul. What would happen next? Could they truly overcome the nightmarish forms creeping up on them? Are you ready for the truth, Sarah? Are you brave enough to face the ultimate test? The voice of the book whispered again, its tone taunting and luscious with malice. Together, we will. She replied, heart racing with the weight of her newfound resolve. The ground rumbled as shadows clashed with light, leaving Sarah teetering on the brink of the unknown, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Would she find the final truth, or would the darkness swallow them whole? In that moment, silence fell again before a thunderous clash erupted as the shadows surged. The time for decision had finally arrived. Would their efforts bear fruit, or would they be lost in the abyss? The shadows lunged, a tide of darkness hungry for its prey. Sarah felt the cold breath of her past creeping up her spine, wrapping around her as if to pull her down into the depths. But she stood firm, fueled by the fire igniting within her heart. I am more than this. I choose to break free. The light pulsated violently, the energy radiating from her and Jason intertwining like a shield against the encroaching abyss. The monstrous figures screeched, a cacophony of distorted echoes that scratched at the edges of her sanity. You think you can escape your reality? They howled, twisting the faces of those she had lost into grotesque masks of despair. And you think I'll let you define me? She shot back, every ounce of her being now a raw, exposed nerve. I won't let my mistakes or your twisted versions of my life control me. With a glance at Jason, she saw the steely determination etched on his face. They needed each other, now more than ever. Together. They yelled in unison, and the ground beneath them began to quake. The shadows writhed, recoiling as if scalded by their combined will. But the darkness wouldn't back down without a fight. You will regret this, one of the shadows hissed, the voice slithering like venomous smoke. You are weak. You are nothing. No. You're wrong. Sarah screamed, feeling the words bubble up from the depths of her soul. I am strong. I have faced my pain, I have confronted my demons. I rise with every challenge. With each word, the light around them grew brighter, illuminating the expanse with a brilliance so intense it pierced the very essence of her fears. The specters of her past began to shatter, one by one, like glass under a hammer. She pictured each moment of sorrow, the fights, the betrayals, the losing battle with despair, and reminded herself of the lessons they had taught her. Jason's voice broke through the chaos, steady and strong. Feel it, Sarah. Let the light guide you. We are not defined by our failures. As their hands reached toward the shadows, a wave of warmth flowed through her, carving out the darkness from within. The memories transformed, lifting the weight of remorse. She saw her father again, but this time, instead of anger, there was compassion in his eyes. Her friend, standing unyielding, no longer turned away but opened his heart to forgiveness. Each fragment of her past shifted, revealing the healer in every wound. But then, just as she began to feel the tides turning, a new presence entered the fray. A larger, darker specter emerged from the depths, more ominous than the others. It towered over them, its eyes blazing with ferocity, embodying Sarah's greatest fears: failure, judgment, unworthiness. "Do you truly think you can defeat me?" It hissed, the words curling through the air like a thick fog. Suddenly, her confidence faltered, doubt clawing back into her psyche. What if they were wrong? What if they couldn't face this? Jason's hand squeezed hers tightly, and she found strength in his touch. "Focus, Sarah. We made it this far together. You can't let fear win." Trembling, she channeled every bit of courage she had left. "I choose love over fear," she yelled, and lit the air around her with pure, unyielding light that surged forth like a beacon. As the shadows writhed in agony, she felt the walls of the expanse tremble, a fracture appearing where light met darkness. "You don't scare me anymore," she shouted, pouring her heart into every syllable. "I embrace my truth." The monstrous form recoiled, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah glimpsed a crack of something. Was it fear? The specter faltered. But before she could react, the ground beneath them lurched violently. "No. You will pay for your defiance." A deafening roar erupted, shaking the fabric of their reality once more, threatening to split them apart. Everything spun wildly. Sarah's heart raced. Did she have what it took to harness this newfound strength and overcome the darkness for good? The truth hung heavy in the air like a sword, and a chilling question whispered around them: would they become a memory, just like the faces? She was fighting to escape. As they faced the impending chaos, Sarah held her breath, poised between light and dark, not knowing if this battle would finally set her free or if they would be lost forever. The ground split wider, a fiery chasm forming right beneath their feet. Rocks tumbled, the explosion of chaos pushing Sarah and Jason dangerously close to the edge. Adrenaline surged through Sarah's veins, her instincts screamed at her to run, but she refused to be swallowed by the darkness. "Hold on!" Jason shouted, his grip tightening around her hand. The weight of their combined fears bore down on them, but she could feel the warmth of his strength pulling them together. They wouldn't fall, they couldn't. The shadow trembled, its enormous figure wavering for a brief moment, but it quickly regained its form, a twisted smile spreading across its monstrous face. "You think your puny light can extinguish me? I am the shadow of your deepest failures." "No!" Sarah shouted, the word cutting through the din around them. "You do not define me. I define myself." With every ounce of her will, she focused on that light inside her, the flame that refused to dim. Every painful memory, every fear, and every doubt was fuel for her fight. As she visualized them shattering like glass, she felt an overwhelming surge of power. "Together, we create our own light," Jason roared, and she saw it reflected in his gaze. The light around them intensified, shimmering like molten gold, and she tapped deeper into her core. With a mighty scream, they lifted their hands as one, a radiant force erupting from their combined spirits. The shadows recoiled, the dark form writhing as it fought to hold its ground. The torrential echoes of pain began to dim, fading like the sunset. "Look beyond the shadows," Jason urged, his voice steady amidst the roar. "There lies your truth." Sarah focused hard, the chaos around her beginning to coalesce into something clear. The specter loomed large, but its grotesque smile had transformed. Now it appeared frantic, desperate as the beams of light struck it. "Why do you resist?" it hissed, the voice now tinged with desperation instead of malice. "You are nothing without me. I am everything because of you." Sarah countered, her voice stronger than ever. "Each scar tells my story. You have no power over my truth." In that moment, she felt it a shift. The ground trembled with a force she had never before tapped into. A burning brightness enveloped her and Jason, and the very fabric of reality seemed to ripple around them. Then a sound pierced the air, a crack, followed by a deep, hollow rumble, and the pitch-black specter began to lose its form, its edges dissolving like fog under the first light of dawn. Yet even as victory loomed, shadows twisted and lunged at them, trying to claw through the brilliant light. Sarah felt the weight of despair pushing against her resolve. "You think you've won?" The shadow spat, its voice swirling like a tempest around them. "You can never escape your past. It will always haunt you." "Not true," Sarah shouted back, her voice ringing with newfound conviction. "I own my past. I turn pain into power." As fierce waves of shadow surged toward them, she brought her arms down in a sweeping motion, directing the light like a sword. It burst forth with blinding brilliance, scattering the dark tremors and illuminating the vast emptiness around them. "Keep going," Jason urged, but she could feel exhaustion creeping into her bones. Could they withstand the onslaught of darkness while keeping this light alive? In the midst of the madness, something inside Sarah shifted again. A whisper of doubt flickered like a candle in the wind. What if she was wrong? What if they were really just shadows themselves, a mere flicker struggling against the inevitable? Just then, something sharp latched onto her heart, an echo of memories sinking its claws deeper, her lost childhood, a mother's grief, and the weight of failure that made her want to crawl into darkness. But Jason's firm hand brought her back. "Fight. Remember why we're here." With a shuddering breath, she unleashed a wave of light again, igniting the air with fervor, but in the fraction of a second, the shadows lunged again, their grasp slipping closer than ever. As blinding light clashed with encroaching darkness, she felt a fracture in her soul expose a gnawing fear, like a secret threatening to unravel. What if she didn't know the way forward? What if the real battle was yet to come? Just then, the shadows roared as they battled to reclaim the ground lost, and with it, the breach between victory and defeat widened, and Sarah wondered, when the dust finally settled, what truth would emerge. Would they find freedom, or would they be forever intertwined with the darkness? The pressure reached a breaking point as shadows writhed around Sarah and Jason, encroaching upon their fragile light. The echoes of despair and self-inflicted wounds clawed at them, trying to drag them back to the depths from which they had fought to escape. "Keep fighting," Jason called, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Remember who you are. Remember what you've overcome." Sarah clenched her fists, drawing on their connection, feeling it pull stronger than before. The memories surged, each a stepping stone on her path to freedom, her childhood, her struggles, the kindness of old friends, and the fierce determination to rise above every setback. "I am not afraid of my truth," she shouted, her voice slicing through the darkness. The shadows hesitated, their forms flickering, as if her conviction had struck a nerve. A moment's pause, and then she seized it. "I am built on the ashes of my past. I am stronger." The air vibrated, aligning with her words, transforming them into an unwavering power that sent a ripple of brightness through the expanse. Jason's presence beside her breathed life into her resolve. Hand in hand, they faced the abyss, light intertwining, creating a radiant shield against the torrent of darkness. "No!" The shadow screamed, its form twisting in agony as it recoiled from their strength. "You cannot escape me. Watch us," Sarah retorted, determination surging through her like wildfire. "You do not own me. You are merely a reflection of the pain I've fought against. I'm reclaiming my light." Together, they thrust their hands forward, guiding the light like a force of nature. The chasm beneath them roared, but their combined strength fortified their resolve. The light swirled, brightening the desolate space, illuminating departed faces known and unknown, friends lost and lessons learned. "Remember, Sarah," Jason's voice rang true and bold. "We are not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone we've lost, and everyone we can still save." The shadows hesitated again, and for the first time, doubt dotted the darkness. Light burst forth, pure and unyielding, cracking the very essence of the Shadow's form. In that moment of liberation, as Sarah felt the shadows tip and sway, she caught a glimpse of something even more profound, her own reflection not in the form of failure, but in the strength forged from struggle. Her voice gained momentum, rising like a crescendo. I am worthy, my life, my journey, is worth every scar and every moment of pain. The shadows writhed, tearing apart, caught in the whirlpool of her undeniable truth. In a cacophony of voices, the darkness shrieked, desperately trying to cling to its final threads. You're weak. You'll always be nothing. But for Sarah, those words fell flat against the backdrop of her heart's newfound resolve. No. Your whispers are nothing but poison. She shouted, the light now bursting like the dawn breaking through a long, dark night. I refuse to listen. I choose to embrace the light that shone even in my darkest hours. Jason stood resolute beside her, and together they pushed forward, pouring everything they had into the radiant force between them. Let go of us. They cried in unison, pulling the light toward them, a dance of defiance against the shadows. A shattering explosion of brilliance erupted, and the air thickened with energy pooling around them, binding them tighter than any chain ever could. Suddenly, everything changed. The dark specter lunged one last time, its growl echoing against their resolve, but Sarah faced it with an unyielding spirit. No more. We are free. A brilliant flash erupted, consuming the shadows entirely, and for that fleeting moment, silence filled the air. They stood at the precipice, breathless and shaken, surrounded by a luminous aftermath. The chill of darkness receded, leaving only the remnants of its whispers echoing faintly. What just happened? Jason gasped, adrenaline coursing through his veins. I think. Sarah's voice trembled with wonder, I think we really did it. As the light pulsed around them, she felt the last remnants of fear slip away, like clouds disappearing before the warmth of the sun. A sense of peace anchored her being, filling the void where shadows had once loomed, but then Jason's brows furrowed. What about the book? He asked, nodding toward the table where it lay. Glimmering faintly in the warmth left behind, it called softly, the pages rustling gently as if inviting them back one last time. Is it truly over? Sarah felt her heart race again. The allure still lurked beneath the surface, but she recognized it now for what it was, a remnant of the past that threatened to ensnare her. She walked toward it, her step steady, and with a resolute breath, she picked it up, the weight heavy with the echoes of choices made and lessons learned. Let us put this to rest, she said, a hard edge to her voice. This was never my salvation. It was a reflection of my struggles, but I won't disregard the light within me anymore. With determination, she held the book above her, her gaze unwavering. We are ready to release you, she declared, and as the light enveloped them, she felt the air thrum with transformation. In one fluid motion, she cast the book into the empty expanse, and with it, every last shred of fear, every haunting memory, spiraled away, evaporating into nothingness. The air cleared, and a serene stillness wrapped around them. Jason turned to her with relief, and a smile broke through the tension. She had faced the darkness, and together they had emerged stronger, forged anew from the flames of their battle. I'm proud of you, Sarah, he said, genuine warmth radiating from his expression. Tears of relief and gratitude streamed down her cheeks. And I'm grateful for you, Jason. We did this together. We found our light. Bright, raw hope surged within her as they stepped forward, ready to embrace a life unshackled by the past, hand in hand, hearts open to the new dawn. The world ahead stretched endlessly, unwritten and full of promise, waiting for them to discover the beauty that comes from breaking free. You must subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could inspire your fight against darkness. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support, and don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. This is your moment. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this truth. Time is ticking, let them join in the journey.